And welcome to this edition of the Native News Update on this Monday, October 5th. I'm your host for today's program, Paul Demain. Many of the stories right here can also be found at our website at IndianCountryNews.com. Here are the news stories from the day from the Associated Press and other Native American news sources. The California State Attorney General will prosecute a ministry director accused in the 1981 triple murder in Riverside, California, because the Riverside County District Attorney is a distant cousin of the defendant. Spokesman John Hall said that District Attorney Rod Pacheco is a second cousin to Jimmy Hughes, also known as James Hughes, who was arrested last week in Miami, Florida on an outstanding fugitive warrant. Hughes, who is fighting extradition to California, was wanted in the murders of Fred Alvarez, a tribal leader with the Cabazon Band of Mission Indians, and two other people. As a result of this year's first round of cuts to its annual state budget allotment, Arizona State Museum, ASM, has canceled its annual Southwest Indian Art Fair for 2010. This one would have been the museum's 17th annual celebration there. The Southwest Indian Art Fair has been a staple of Tucson, Arizona's vibrant February event since 1993, each year bringing more than 200 Indian artists from around the region to sell their authentic and handmade wares on the museum's expensive front lawn. That event being canceled out because some of the budget cuts. New ways of thinking are needed for medical professionals to understand and help victims to overcome trauma. That was the message delivered by Dr. Spiro Manson during his keynote address in the opening day of the Hopi Foundation's training conference on October 2nd, according to reporter John Christian Hopkins. The conference also honored past winners of the Barbara Chester Award and recognized Dr. Mary Fabry as the 2009 recipient. The two-day conference was entitled Remaking the World of Trauma Survivors. Manson, a member of the Pembina Chippewa, is director of the American Indian and Alaska Natives program at the University of Colorado Health Services. Attention began to focus on trauma and PTSD, or post-traumatic stress disorder, during the Vietnam War era. Manson said many of the soldiers returning from duty seem to be suffering psychologically, if not physically, from the tours of duty that they went on. American Indians also seem to be suffering at a higher rate than other cultures. The North Dakota Board of Higher Education has postponed a decision on the fate of the University of North Dakota's Fightingsuit nickname, saying it wants to give one of the namesake's tribes a chance to vote on the issue. The board has set an October 1st deadline to drop the logo, which the NCAA and some others consider offensive. Board members said during a conference call last week there was a misunderstanding about the date of tribal elections on the Standing Rock Sioux Reservation, and more time is needed to get the opinions of the new council. North Carolina's senators have introduced a bill to provide federal recognition to the state's Lumbee Tribe. Republican Senator Richard Burr and Democratic Senator Kay Hagan jointly introduced a bill last week. There are 55,000 Lumbees in Robeson, Cumberland, Hokey, and Scotland counties of North Carolina. The tribe began its quest for recognition in 1888, 3 years after North Carolina formally recognized it. Congress partially recognized the tribe in 1956, but denied the Lumbees federal benefits given to other American Indian tribes. Interior Secretary Ken Salazar last week signed the final environmental impact statement for a project to supply water to the Navajo Nation and the Rickarilla Apache Nation and the city of Gallup, New Mexico. Salazar signed documents in Washington, D.C., joined by 3 members of the New Mexico's congressional delegation, Democrats Senator Jeff Bingaman and Tom Udall and Representative Ben Ray Lujan. Congress in March passed a massive public lands bill that included legislation settling a decades-long dispute over Navajo water claims. The legislation settled the tribe's claims in the San Juan River Basin and authorized a pipeline to serve Gallup and Navajo communities in New Mexico and eastern Arizona. Salazar said moving the project ahead will provide a sustainable water supply and a foundation for economic development in northwestern New Mexico. Blocked by more than 100 years of man-made dikes, the waters of Puget Sound returned to the Nisqually River estuary last week, creating a watery landscape few, if any, people alive today have ever seen in the state of Washington. 5 of the 7 sloughs that braid their way through the river delta filled with water at high tide after decades as empty muddy channels. The remaining 2 were opened up by construction crews to tidal flows later in the week, said Gene Takakawa, refuge manager for the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. The event marked a milestone in a 12-year, $12 million effort to restore some 762 acres of the estuary on the 3,000-acre Nisqually National Wildlife Refuge. Some 4 miles of exterior dike were removed this summer, one horizontal slice at a time. Last summer, the new exterior dike was built at the refuge to prepare for this summer's dike removal. More than 350,000 cubic yards of dirt and rock have been moved, involving a crew of 24 and a fleet of excavators, backhoes, and dump trucks. Just a reminder that coming up at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time on Wednesday, October 7th, will be the Harmony Cafe's Native American concert in Green Bay, Wisconsin. That concert is going to be free. It's going to be broadcast live into the newsfromindiancountry.com and indiancountrytv.com websites through the featured digital player. Some of the bands that are going to be up there is the Blues Talk from the Oneida Reservation, Junior Danforth and the New Beatles, who are Oneida and Menominee Reservation tribal members, Clinton Miller from the Stockbridge-Muncie Reservation, Wade Fernandez, a Menominee Reservation tribal member, Rockin' Daddies from the Oneida Reservation, and Big Snake on the Oneida Reservation. Join us for that free concert streamed live from Green Bay, Wisconsin on Wednesday night. And that is the latest roundup of news from Indian Country on this edition of the Native News Update. We want to thank you all for joining with us and stick with us again in the future. Miigwech.